Hi everyone, so today's the day, 20 years of Harry Potter. Now, I didn't want to move this until I had filmed this and said, yes, we have finished something. This is my mini version. If you were watching on Instagram, you would have seen that I was actually attempting to do a beach ball sized golden snitch birthday cake that Mrs. Weasley makes for Harry. Now, I'm actually not finished. I might actually still do it, but what I've been doing is doing a mini version, so using the soccer ball sized cake pan to make a golden snitch birthday cake. So this is the final. I thought it was better that I show you something, and then I'm going to go back into the kitchen and I'm going to see if I can do this beach ball size cake, but I'm going to do it as a second video. And whatever happens to it, I'm going to show it to you. Either this thing will turn out beautifully or this cake is just gonna flop. But I promise I will have another video to show what happens with it. In the meantime, I am going to show you how to make a golden snitch birthday cake that is at least soccer ball sized. So we're going to start by baking the cake. So we're going to start by preheating your oven to 140 degrees Celsius. Then in the mixer, you're going to cream together 300 grams of butter, 2 cups white sugar, 6 eggs. Then you're going to add in 3 cups of self-raising flour, 1 cup of plain flour. Then add in 1 1/4 cups of milk and 3 teaspoons of vanilla essence. Once that's really well mixed, we are going to grease our Wilton Sport Cake pan and pour the mixture evenly into these cake pans, leaving a 1 to 2 centimeters space from the top. It does mean you're probably going to have a little bit of batter left over, but that's okay. Now for memory, the sports pan does come with like a little stand, but if not, make sure that those pans are balanced on something. I use like little mini cake pans. Then you're going to pop that in the oven for about 2 hours. Basically, it's going to be baked once a skewer pushed into the middle comes out nice and clean. Let that completely cool down before removing it from the pan. Now on to the next part. Once that cake is cool, you're going to pop it out of the pan and ice it. Now you can use buttercream icing from the store because that's what I did. But you're going to use the icing to completely smooth around each cake. Once that icing is completely covering the cake, you are going to take very wet hands and smooth the icing so it's a really almost glass-like surface. Pop that in the fridge to cool for half an hour to an hour. Then we're going to be ready to decorate. So, okay, I'll put my hand up and be honest. I tried to find an easier way of doing this. I thought maybe I could use something like poured fondant to make the decorating easier. Don't even bother. Just go with the fondant. I would recommend maybe doing a Google on how to cover a soccer ball cake with fondant because my skills really aren't up to scratch, but I got there in the end. What I will say is for the color, I mixed a white icing with a yellow icing to get that nice creamy color. So before I started attaching the detail to the snitch, I took a knife and just lightly pressed in the line so I knew what I was following. So for the detail, I rolled out extra fondant, just tried to make it as thin as possible, and then I basically used a mix of water and pressing and using my fingers and my nails and also a wooden skewer, and just sort of helped press the edges in and then smoothed it out into the rest of the cake so it looked like it was sort of blended. I covered that with Glad wrap, and then the next day I came back to color it all. So to color it, I used a mix of things. The first thing I did was I completely coated the whole thing in Wilton's Color Mist Food Color Spray. Then I went in with a bit of detail, otherwise it looks really flat. So I went in with a little bit of a brown, yellowy brown color, and basically used that where shadows would follow. So you would only put those underneath where the lines are. So think of a light shining down onto the snitch. You're going to have highlights on top and then the shadows underneath. So basically underneath most of the areas, I drew a little bit of a dark line. And then I also took some silver and I painted that on top of where like some light would hit. So I also went over some areas with the Wilton Color Mist again, but this time in silver just to add a little bit of variation to the ball. And then once that it was all covered, I covered the whole thing again with a light misting of the gold color mist and then set that aside to dry. So with the cake drying, it was on to making the wings. Now, look, you can do this whichever way you want. I happen to do it using candy because this is what I love doing, is working with candy. But look, if you want to do this completely differently, you can use paper cutouts and just stick those in. Maybe even using rice paper is another way. You can cut out sort of wing designs and attach that to some sort of frame. But for me,
I used my basic candy making recipe. So 1 cup water into a saucepan, half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of glucose syrup, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. I'm sure you guys have heard me say that over and over again. So you're going to boil that in a saucepan until it reaches 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're going to make this recipe twice. The first one I poured out onto a silicone mat, started to let it cool. Then with my candy making gloves, I rolled and twisted until I had a really nice hard candy shine, and basically stretched those pieces of candy out so they were long strips. Now I didn't completely let them dry. They were firm but still moldable, but you couldn't move them quickly. I popped each of those into either side of the snitch, and as you can see, for most of the time I let it support onto some cardboard boxes that I had. Then with the exact same candy making recipe, I made that batch over again. And then what I did was I took a whisk and I took metal snippers and snipped off all the edges of the whisk, dipped that into the candy and flicked it back and forth to create the feather effect. I also took a little dab of extra fondant and created the little knob things around the base of the wings, and also coated that with some extra gold color mist.
I hope you guys have enjoyed these last 20 days of the Harry Potter recipes. There were a few that I was actually hoping to do. I actually thought I had an extra day, and I was actually planning on doing Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. So that's still coming, probably in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that one. But I hope you guys enjoyed these recipes that I have turned out, and wish me luck with making the beach ball sized golden snitch birthday cake.